message to job-creating corporations is, we'll unshackle you from the world's highest federal corporate income tax rate, but you'll stand on your own. You will fall or you will succeed on your own, just like all the rest of us out on Main Street. Would be the opposite of cronyism then. The plan would manifest the belief that if given a level playing field, everyone will have the opportunity to thrive. And this idea is just a step in the defense of our republic. But it represents the kind of reform that we need. And this reform, it must come from you. It must come from the American people. We can't wait for the permanent political class to do it for us, to reform anything, because they won't. They can't. They are part of the problem. And that problem, it will not stop until we, the people, say enough is enough, and until we retire that permanent political class. Folks, you're going to hear more about this crony capitalism because, as I say, Solyndra, just tip of the iceberg, you're going to see so many more examples. And I do thank those in the mainstream media who are really opening their eyes now and realizing that unless they do a better job of vetting candidates and digging into what's going on in these federal government programs, our country will be bankrupt. I appreciate those in the mainstream media, Jake Tapper with ABC, and some of these folks who are asking the questions in those White House briefing rooms, and not being afraid of being literally up against this political machine that is in the White House, and they're doing their job as journalists. I appreciate them. They must do that for us, because as much as we want to believe that some of us have that microphone, we have a platform to stand on, believe me, Barack Obama doesn't pay any little bit of attention at all to the hockey mom from Wasilla. He's just going to keep on doing his thing. But if we put pressure on the mainstream media, telling them what our expectations are, here's why I have beef with the mainstream media. You want me to tell you the truth about this? Because I've never been shy about expressing my disappointment in the mainstream media. One, we got to give them hell. We do. Otherwise, this is just going to continue. Here's the deal. My college degree, I had studied journalism. I learned the who, what, when, and why. I learned the basics of just telling the people what it is that are facts that they can make up their own mind. But beyond that, once I started having kids, and my oldest son enlisted as an infantryman in the United States Army and spent his year in a war zone in Iraq, I would watch what some in the press were doing, and I would think, my son and all of America's finest are men and women in uniform being willing to fight for a republic and die for a republic and our rights, our constitutional rights, including that freedom of the press. They're abusing that freedom of the press if they're not going to do their job and report the facts to the American people. Perhaps have been misunderstood about why it is that the mainstream media just gets on my nerves about what it is that they lack in terms of reporting facts and stories that Americans need to hear in order for us to make up our own mind and cast votes according to our own will. And I think the misunderstanding is that, some people are, oh man, well, they've been picking on her. I don't care. I do not care. I don't give a hoot what they say about me. I do not care. I know truth. What I care about is the defense of that freedom of the press, knowing that young men and women are willing to die for it, because freedom of the press is a cornerstone of our democracy. And again, if those in the press decide that they're just going to abuse that and take it for granted and take advantage of the opportunity to not be straight with the American people, well, for shame. And that is why I'm always on this high horse about the lamestream media and what it is that they do or don't do for the American public. So we can't wait for the permanent political class to reform anything for us. They won't, they can't. The problem won't stop until it is we, the people, rising up and saying enough is enough. We must root out that crony capitalism. In the same way that people had enough of it way back in the day when they decided that they would come to this land, America, and seek justice and opportunity. We need to do the same thing, only this is our land. We don't need to leave our land. We need to demand the reform before it ruins our economy the same way that it did those old countries that our ancestors had left behind. Again, I can tell you from hard-earned experience, the road ahead is not easy. In Alaska, as the governor, I took on a corrupt, compromised political system. The backroom dealings that I witnessed going on with big oil, and I learned firsthand that sudden and relentless reform, it never sits well with the entrenched interests and power brokers. And that's why true reform is so difficult, and that's why true reform, gosh, when faced with opportunities to do something about it, a lot of people back away. You know, a lot of people go to Washington, D.C. with the best of intentions, but then they kind of back away because they realize, my goodness, this is going to be a tough road. But it's not impossible. If we stand together, we can confront the problem and we can achieve lasting reform. And that's what the Tea Party movement has been all about these last few years. And I just love it. Lately, it seems that more and more people are starting to see the same frustrations that motivated the Tea Party movement. More and more people are kind of realizing, okay, I get it, what it is that they've been talking about. And even people on the far left. Let me go back to those Wall Street protesters. Have you kind of been keeping up on what it is that they're, or trying to keep up, trying to interpret what it is that they're saying and protesting for or against in these cities? I say it kind of in jest, though, because I know that it's very easy to dismiss these folks as just a bunch of left-wing radicals and neo-hippies, and some of them do seem like the same wacko anarchists, anti-global, anti-capitalist, anti-fur, anti-deodorant. Please just eat a bacon double cheeseburger and maybe you'd be a little bit happy, some of you folks on Wall Street protesting. It seems like we've seen this type before, but suspend your disbelief for just a minute and consider this. Maybe some of them, though, are asking them the same questions that those of us in the Tea Party movement have been asking. Why are we forced to bail out Wall Street bankers, the fat cats, in Obama's words, those who gambled with our economy? Why are we responsible for their gambles and their mistakes? Maybe some of them share the same fear that so many of us have. And that's the fear that the blessings of liberty and prosperity are slipping away. And that for the first time in our history, the next generation will be worse off than we are. Maybe it's time for them to join us in a real conversation, a real discussion about this fear. It's what we have been talking about for 3 years now in the Tea Party movement. Maybe we need to ask, as a united nation, do we still believe in self-government? And if the answer is yes, then it's time for us to empower ourselves as individuals to demand accountability and personal responsibility. I think in our hearts we know what needs to be done, but our permanent political class They won't do it. They can't do it. And that's why we, the people, must do it. We must lead. We must lead with a still spine and with moral courage and with integrity. We must reclaim that optimistic, pioneering spirit of our frontier. And it is still in us. It is America. I grew up with that spirit instilled in me in our nation's last frontier. It's the pioneering spirit of our ancestors who came to this country with nothing but a desire to work hard and build a better life for themselves by the sweat of their brow. They didn't demand bailouts. They didn't demand kickbacks or special favors. They didn't expect anything from anyone. They just wanted and they fought for freedom and opportunity to prosper by their own merits. That is the spirit of free men and free markets. It's the spirit of the pilgrim and the patriot, the pioneer and the legal immigrant. It's what motivated heroes throughout our history to prove in liberating strife their selfless love of country. It's the enduring strength of this land which God has shed his grace upon. So we will not squander what we have been given. We will defend our republic. United, we must stand, and we shall nobly save and not meanly lose this last best hope on earth. And I thank you, Missouri, for being part of the solution. I say God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.